You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's me and Tyler, so me and Tyler are going to be loose. You're just going to sit there with your glasses.
Okay, yeah, I'll loosen it
Just
up.
look
If
super
it gets
smart
tight,
over
I'll
there,
listen.
bro. And
If it gets tight, dude,
we got
lefty
this,
loosey,
Mike.
bro,
We
bro.
got this. Don't worry, we got this. All
all
right.
right.
All right.
Camera's on you. Camera one. Camera
And
two.
we're on.
Camera one. Wait. Oh, wait. Oh, actually, it doesn't really matter. Anthony,
You guys did it at the same time, though. It was,
I know. No, it's. I can see it. They're a little bit separated. I keep wanting to call you Tyler because you frustrated me. Fuck, dude, you're fucked. Oh yeah, you little bitch. I got it. Okay.
yeah, you got it.
I
All
laughed-
right, yo.
I laughed
What's
at the same
up?
time.
Yo.
Yo. All right,
Yo.
welcome back. Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast. It's your boy T here.
It's your boy Vegeta.
Vegeta. And it's your boy, Smelly Poopy Fart. My name's Michael.
He's the scientist.
He's the smelliest poopy fart. You know, is that George's? I don't know.
I
George's
know
Jungle?
the song you were trying to get at, but
Bare Necessities. He's the
Lion
smelliest
King?
poopy fart. No, that's from
The Lion King?
Jungle Book, dude.
it's same guy.
Jungle
You're so
Book classic,
uncultured,
dog.
bro.
That's a classic. That's throwback right there.
It's in the
Alright.
jungle.
All right,
Lions,
yo.
elephants, dude in a
Welcome
All right,
to
everyone.
Winnie
Welcome
the
back.
Pooh podcast.
Welcome
13-year-old in his
back.
underwear.
So, Monday afternoon. So you're either super psyched with your fantasy teams, or you're hating your life like me because you played the number one scorer in 4 of your 6 leagues and you got no shot.
Or you're like me and you benched Andrew Luck and you played Ryan Tannehill.
I wonder who gave that advice.
Yeah.
Tannehill. Anyways,
call.
all right.
I did
so
say Andy Dalton was my number one choice.
in this episode, we're kind of just gonna go recap the games and just kind of what we learned and what we saw throughout the league. So let's just jump right into the matchups. What's the first matchup?
All right, we got first matchup. We'll start with is Texans and Colts. Andrew Luck seemed to come back from the dead. The Colts still have no running game. It's something we touched on, when we were previewing the matchup. So, I said I don't know if I'm going to bank on Andrew Luck having to throw 60 times, but I don't know.
He threw 61
he
times,
threw
right?
61 times, so he kind of shut me out. It was nice to see that performance from Andrew Luck. If you're an Andrew Luck owner and you're someone who hadn't give up, or you're not someone who's streaming week to week, good performance from him.
So I think Andrew Luck heard the podcast and he was like, "Oh, you don't want to start me? You throw 60 times? Hold my beer."
I know.
He's like, I'll do it 5 yards times 60 times. Watch this.
Crazy good game. Who do you have? 4 touchdowns?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
threw for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. On the flip side, Deshaun had a big game too. We touched on that. This could be the week where, you've been disappointed from Deshaun, but this is the week where he could have a good game, and he went out and did that. Hopkins looked good. Fuller actually had a hamstring injury.
scored again though.
Scored again though, yeah. So if you need a wide receiver, we're gonna touch on some waiver wire guys. Kiki,
Do you love me?
not even sure how to say his name, but he's someone who ended up having over 100.
Isn't it Kiki Cocker?
It's Kiki Cutie.
Kiki Cutie.
Say KKCC. I can't even say his name.
Oh, hey, don't have that name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kiki QT. It's his first. They drafted him.
It was his first
this
start.
season. Yeah, so it's his first game. I guess he was battling some hamstring injuries or something like that. So it was his first game back. But he had 15 targets in his first game there. He had 11 receptions. I think he had over 111 yards or something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah, he had 109 yards and 11 receptions.
Yards, yeah, so
Will Fuller still had 4 for 49 in that game. So he's someone to keep an eye on. If Will Fuller is out, or if you have a deep bench, I wouldn't mind grabbing QD for this week coming up.
yeah, he actually led all those receivers in targets. So he had I think it was 29% target share. So that was more than Hopkins, more than Fuller. So anyway, so they're just not throwing the ball to the tight ends really, and even Lamar. Lamar's not getting the ball thrown to him all. I don't even think Lamar had a catch.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. He didn't have a catch. Alfred Blue had no one had anything.
So yeah, so he's throwing it to these receivers. So yeah, if Will Fuller's out, Kiki QT definitely someone who I would pick up. You can probably stream,
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna try to touch on some like what we've learned type of things through 4 weeks, and something I've noticed is teams aren't like married to the tight end position anymore. If they don't have a good pass catching tight end, they've kind of learned to use 2 receivers or even 3 receivers to the extreme. And I think Tennessee is going to be one of those teams where they're not going to use the tight end really. They're just going to be like, why are we going to force the ball to a tight end, that's not getting open when we have these studs on the outside in Hopkins and Fuller, and, maybe even QD in the slot. So, he's someone going forward who might have value. There's teams this year that have 3 wide receivers, the Rams. the Lions. Even Pittsburgh has like 2, and it looks like they're using the tight end, some other guys. So that's a name to keep an eye on.
For sure. So one thing I've learned, I'm a big Lamar Miller guy. I've just learned it's looking rough for him. He just hasn't performed. That line's not very good. He's not converting in the red zone. Like, even when they get close to the red zone, like inside the 5-10, like they're throwing the ball. Deshaun's running it. So Lamar Miller's a guy, he scares me. So I'm not 100% confident every week like I once was, and I was a big Lamar Miller truther, in the beginning of the year. So he's starting to scare me. And then when Devontae Foreman comes back, is he going to eat into his carries? He might be a guy who I'm trying to dump if I can. But it's like, what are you going to get from him,
Yeah, you're not really going to get much for Lamar at this point.
Yeah.
No. Dude.
So it scares me. So flip side, like you said, the Colts, they can't run the ball. So maybe they're a team where it's like instead of running the ball, they're throwing those short dump offs to try to run the ball, get running backs in space. That's kind of where Naheem Hines comes into place.
Yeah, he actually had 9 catches last week for 2 touchdowns. In a PPR league, quarterbacks are just throwing the ball a ton. I'm gonna, release an article, or we'll do some of the podcasts where I just went to deep stats. But the numbers and attempts and yards and touchdowns are just astronomically up from the way they've been the last few 3-4 years. Hines is probably a good PPR pickup, especially if you need like a running back to help. He seems to be that pass catching back. They have a weapon in that. T.Y. Hilton had a big game, but he got hurt, so he's from what I've read so far, he's probably going to be out week 5.
Yeah. Who would you feel starting, like Ryan Grant then, or?
The 2 options you would have to see outside of T.Y. are Ryan Grant and Chester Rogers. Rogers had a bigger game last week, but Ryan Grant's been more consistent. So I think if I were to go with one of the 2, I'd probably go with the guy who's been a little more consistent for the first 4 weeks. So I'd probably choose Ryan Grant.
Just keep an eye on that. So, all right, let's move on to the next matchup.
My back scrap. All right, we got the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers.
So we learned that the NFL is rigged because the Bills beat the Vikings, and then they come out and I don't think they didn't even score, did they?
Nope.
No.
They had the first quarter they had 0, the second quarter they had 0, third quarter 0. Oh, and the fourth quarter they had 0.
At least they're being consistent.
If you times 0 by 4, it's 0.
Yeah, it's consistency right there. So a crazy stat I saw was in the past people were talking about Andrew Luck, that line not being very good, and him getting hit and sacked all the time. I think he was getting pressured on, I think it was like 11% of the dropbacks for him. Josh Allen being pressured on 15% of his dropbacks. So it's more than Andrew Luck. So we were always nervous about him. Josh Allen's getting pressured more. He's not very good at all. They don't really have any weapons, outside of, I don't know why they're not giving LaShawn McCoy the ball. I think he has like 25 total touches in 3 weeks. Like, it just doesn't understand. It's your best player. Why are you not giving him the ball? It just, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, what we've had to learn from Shady in the weeks he's been healthy is he's not going to be a volume guy that even a lot of people who, we do a lot of off-season work and like look into stuff, and there's other people, who do this for a job and living, the experts. A lot of them, there's a lot of people who didn't like LaShawn McCoy, but they were like, he's going to at least get, 15, 20 touches a game. We even thought that too, it's like, even if he's not super efficient, he's going to get volume, but there's doesn't seem to be logical coaching in Buffalo. They're giving Ivory work. They're not even making easy passes for Josh Allen. Like Tyler just said, 15% of the dropbacks he's getting pressure. Like, why not run some screens to LaShawn McCoy? Why not run some dump offs, some wheel routes? It's just, it's that offense is just, in coaching staff right now is.
Yeah, maybe he's still banged up with the ribs. I can't imagine trying to have like a fracture in my rib and then getting hit by NFL players consistently over and over and over again. So maybe he's kind of banged up a little bit. We'll see. But I don't feel confident starting anyone on the Bills going forward. And so, I need to see it.
Not even Kelvin.
Kelvin. I took a flyer on Kelvin this week. Like I said, the game script, I thought they would be behind. I thought they would need to throw the ball. They were behind, and they tried to throw the ball. But then the thing I forgot is that Josh Allen's just not good. He's only completed 50% of his passes in college when he was playing in like the Mountain West Conference, and I'm pretty sure the players in the NFL are better than the players in the Mountain West Conference. I could be wrong, but
he could throw it over the mountains.
I'm not a doctor, bro, but I think so.
Hey.
I think the Green Bay DBs had more catches than Kelvin Benjamin.
DBs, yeah. But hey, that was a good stream. We mentioned if you're trying to stream defenses, pick up the Packers defense. That was one of the defense we talked about, and I think they put up like 20 points.
Yeah, I had them in
one of my leagues. They
almost
gave like
every
25
league.
points.
That's the thing where it goes to show that we know our shit. Actually, that's a pretty easy thing to call, but
no, it just shows you that like every week, so a lot of these, don't waste a draft pick on a defense, on the high rounds, because you can stream defenses. The Packers are probably gonna be the number 1 defense this week, and they were on the waiver wire in probably every single league.
Yeah, I got them in 3 out of 4.
Like what Vikings defense put up like 2 points against the Bills last week. So
it just shows you,
you don't know what the hell.
It just changes every week. So
we know nothing when it comes down to it. We just have some educated guesses what it is. On the Packers side, Aaron Rodgers 298 and 1 touchdown. Not the best Aaron Rodgers game. He's been a little bit of a disappointment if you drafted him relatively high because most people who took him got him high. Going forward, like, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers? I'm kind of like that knee's there, so it kind of scares me with him. I don't think he's 100%. I don't know if he's going to be, the Aaron Rodgers 100% of the old, but I think he's someone you start week in and week out. But
I think if you have Aaron Rodgers and you don't have a second quarterback, to get one right now, pick up Jameis Winston maybe.
Yeah, that's good. I guess I had to have a backup plan. If he goes down, I'd rather have someone there.
I don't know if the knee's not there.
I like that, Mike.
Why do you keep fucking looking at me like that? God damn it.
In the running game, Aaron Jones came out and he looked explosive.
Yeah.
He's looked explosive every time he's been on the field. He's someone where I think I'm going to try and target for trades as a running back. Where if I have depth, like let me see how it plays out because he could end up being a solid RB2 going forward. So. He's just way more explosive than Jamal and Ty Montgomery. He makes big plays. I think his workload is going to grow over the season. It might take a few weeks, but I think he could be a second half kind of running back hero for some teams.
Yeah, this backfield just worries me because it's just like a full 3-headed monster. I think I saw like all 3 of them were in for like 20 plus snaps each. So it's just. I mean, if I'm going to put a running back out there, I want the most opportunities for that running back. I agree. I think Aaron Jones does look like the best running back, but if he's only going to get the ball 20, if he's only going to be the field for 20 plays, like a third of the snaps, it's like you're kind of hoping that he falls into the end zone. Because even if he has a good game and he rushes like 15 times for like 85 yards, that's a good game, right? But it's only 8.5 points,
Yeah.
So if he doesn't fall in the end zone, it kind of worries me.
The running back 2 to running back 3 range, it's almost one range this year. It's the top, 12, maybe 13, 14 guys are all good. But once you get outside of that, it's like the 2 to 3s are all, you're just almost crap shooting on who's going to have a better week. So if Aaron Jones ends up having explosion, he's tied to a high offense. I just see that there's upside and, your point is very valid and it could stay that way all year. But it might hit a point to where Jamal Williams at 2.5 last week, Montgomery 3.6, where it's just, hey, we need to get Aaron Jones the touches, and when they're on the field, when Jamal's out there, it's pass blocking. When Aaron Jones is out there, it's rushing and like just trying to get him in space and make some plays. So there's upside, but there is the worry too, like a little bit of a risk with that for sure.
Yeah, well, I know Aaron Rodgers came out and he said that Aaron Jones is the best running back they have. So if my quarterback is saying, hey, this is the best running back on the team, you would think the coaches would be smart enough, but obviously they're fucking not. But that guy would get more run. So we'll see. Moving on to the receivers, Devontae Adams, another big game. I think he's just every week set it, forget it. Yep. He's tied to Rodgers. It is what it is. Cobb was out with an injury, correct?
Yeah, he was out this week. So stepped in his place with Geronimo Allison. We mentioned him as a sleeper this week. 6 for 80, and he actually went out in the third quarter with a concussion, so he could have even had a bigger game. He's someone you got to keep an eye on. With the concussions, if you have him, if he's on the waiver wire, you got to grab him at this point. He's basically the 2 over there. Cobb is always hurt. He's had at least 60 yards in every game. He's been a solid number 2. That's something we've talked about things we learned is Geronimo is going to be probably the number 2 in that team going forward.
Yeah, 10 plus fantasy points every single week. Like you said, Cobb's kind of banged up. I think he's at the tail end of his career. Allison's that guy that can step up. Just a name to keep an eye on, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, if I'm pronouncing that right. I think he was the guy who came in for when Geronimo Allison was hurt and then Cobb was hurt. So for some reason, if those guys are hurt and they don't play in the next week, that's just a name to keep an eye on, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So
yeah, and I read that Cobb wasn't even close to playing this last week. So if they're both out, that's for sure a name you could consider this week.
Yeah.
Mike?
Keep going. We're going.
Science.
All right, so next matchup, the Buccaneers and the Mitchell Trubisky coming out throwing 6 touchdown career game Bears. I don't know if anyone saw Mitchell Trubisky coming out and going for 350 and 6 on only 26 pass attempts.
Tampa Bay's defense was bad, but
yeah, I think what we learned is whoever's playing against Tampa Bay's defense, you start all those guys.
Yeah.
Unless your name's Jordan Howard, because then the coach just doesn't want to give you the ball for some reason.
He's like, hey, it's a
No.
good game script. Nah, I'm cool. We'll keep
Yeah, I
running.
mean, you
all
would think
these-
you're up 30, 40 points. Let's run the clock out and just, ground and pound with Jordan Howard. Nah, let's go out there. Let's Trubisky throwing it.
I think one of the things, because I'm a Jordan Howard owner, he's still 5th in the league in carries. I think the thing with this offense is they don't really let him get into a rhythm. It's watching them play a little bit. It's almost like it's 2 carries, maybe 3 carries in a drive at most. It's almost like they're running Tariq Cohen out for a play. They're running Taylor Gabriel. They're running these plays, and he doesn't really ever have a chance to get into a rhythm. It's not like they don't have a drive where Jordan Howard sees 5 carries in a drive. It's more of like he might go a whole drive without even seeing a run. They might just have him out there doing stuff. But I mean, from the ground perspective, I think better days are ahead. But I think at this point he's an RB2. He's not really RB1 right as of right now, unless his offense makes some strides to get him the ball like more involved in more drives.
Yeah, I still like Jordan Howard a lot. I have him in the league. I'm actually tried to trade for him in a couple leagues if I can potentially. I just think when in Chicago, once it starts getting colder, they're not going to want to throw the ball as much. I mean, trying to catch a ball when it's 10 degrees and the wind's blowing all over the place is probably not the best strategy for them. If you can give Jordan Howard the ball 20, 25 times on the ground and pound it, they got a solid defense, obviously, probably top 3, top 5 defense easy. So I think in the future, when it starts getting colder, these cold weather games, I think that's maybe when we see the real potential that Jordan Howard has in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we get there, but right now that offense it's like they're just not giving him the ball. It's weird, but they're just not doing it consistently.
Yeah. So receiver Allen Robinson, he had a big game again.
2 for 23 and a touchdown. So
not
he
too bad.
got in the end zone. Tariq Cohen and Taylor Gabriel were kind of even Trey Burton had a big game. Everyone pretty much scored in this game.
Yeah.
Mr. Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns.
The Rams game are all over again.
Yeah.
Well, we called that Burton would probably find the end zone in this game. I was looking at Taylor Gabriel's numbers actually, and he's actually been pretty consistent. I think he's had like
I've
4
had
or
him
5
on-
catches every game.
I
And
have him on my bench.
he's had like 4 or 5 catches every game. He's putting up he's putting up some decent numbers. So you got to open a roster spot. Someone who's just sitting there. I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
threw
go
him in
grab
there.
Taylor Gabriel and throw him in there. Just hold on to him.
Yeah, if you got an injury, throw your injury on the IR. I threw Evan Ingram on the IR, picked up Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah,
I didn't play him, but
yeah, nice.
Should have started him.
yeah, I didn't.
Tariq Cohen had a big receiving game. Actually, this would probably be a game for me where I'd probably sell high on Tariq Cohen. I mean, if I had Tariq Cohen, I don't see him getting 7 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown, going for another 13.53 on the ground very often. This will probably be, in all reality, his highest scoring game of this season. So he's someone I might try and take the opportunity because Jordan Howard had a down game, and Tariq Cohen had like a blow up game. Kind of like in the preseason where people were like, "Oh, it's going to be Tariq Cohen, not Jordan Howard." This is the one game where it happened, so I would try and maybe take advantage of that and see what I can get for Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, so, I mean the Buccaneers' pass defense is obviously terrible, but I think what they're actually kind of good at is on their D line. I mean, they have their first round rookie Vita Vea finally came back and played. They got Gerald McCoy, who's one of the premier D tackles in the league. They got JPP with his 3 fingers. So maybe it was kind of a bad game script for Jordan Howard this game to try to run the ball, and maybe that's why they had Cohen in space because they know, hey, these linebackers and these DBs, they can't keep up with these guys. So maybe it was a game script for all we know.
All right, so let's move over to the Bucs side. Bucks. So Fitzmagic, is his magic reign come to an end?
Yeah, it just shows you magic's fake.
Magic is for pussies.
Magic ain't real.
Yeah, so it looks like it's. I mean,
Wait. This girl came up to me and she asked me. This girl at work was like, "Do you believe in magic?" And I just was like, "What?"
Was she trying to get you to sing that song?
I thought you were gonna say I believe in Fitzmagic.
Do you
No.
believe in magic?
No, but it was like, she was like, how people say, sometimes they'll ask you like, "Do you believe in ghosts?" She asked me if I believe in magic,
And what was your response?
and I looked at her and then I walked away because I had a bunch of stuff to do.
So you guys
I'm not
are
having a
going on a date.
conversation about
Like, bitch, I'm
magic
busy.
in the middle and work. I don't know.
Wow,
Sorry.
maybe she's socially awkward and you just like crushed her like
Maybe,
confidence.
maybe.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah, whoops.
So Jameis Winston, 16 for 20, 145 yards to the air, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I mean, he hasn't played all year. Came out against the Bears D, looked decent. I mean, it's a high completion percentage. What we've learned from this offense is that the defense is bad, And I think whether it's Fitzpatrick or whether it's Winston, the ball's going to be chucked around. I mean, they can't run the ball. Ronald Jones, 2.9. Peyton Barber, 3.4. They got to combine 17 carries for 50 yards. So whoever's the quarterback behind center is going to come out gunslinging the ball. They have weapons in Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, Godwin, Brait. So whoever the starter there, I like whoever the starter is there.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, they just can't run the ball. So I think Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber, these guys are just, I would not feel confident at all putting them in my lineup. Deshaun Jackson, another big game, 5 for 112. I think he had like 8 targets. I think he's a guy you can pretty much just throw in every week from now on. He's just putting up 100-plus yard games, like it seems like every week. Because like you said, their defense is so bad that they're consistently throwing. They're throwing for 300, 400-plus yards every single game. I mean, he's getting it, he's one of those guys, too. It only takes him 2, 3, 4 catches, and he gives you 100 yards.
Yeah, if you're in a 2-flex league, like I love having Deshaun Jackson in a 2-flex league because it's like, you got 2 flexes. If he goes up and puts a 5, cool. But if he goes out there and puts up a 27, like that second flex right there could win you your week right there.
Yeah. Mike Evans, set it and forget it every week. He's the focal point of that passing attack. So
yeah, Chris Godwin, he's kind of the third in targets there. And if he didn't score a touchdown, I think it's going to kind of be weeks similar to this where, you might have a 5 for 50, 2 for 24, 4 for 40. He's going to be, I feel like he's more of you got to bank on him to get in the red zone for as of now. But a dynasty, I think he's a good talent for dynasty.
Yeah.
I think he's someone for sure. If you have him, you're excited for the future with him. The tight end position, O.J. Howard went down. I think he's out 2 to 4 weeks, I believe.
2 to 4 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and Cameron Brait, him and Winston are their boys. I don't know what it is.
That's his boy.
That's his boy. So if O.J. Howard's down there with this offense, the way it's clicking, Cameron Brait's probably the top 12 tight end while O.J. Howard's out.
Yeah. I mean, and they're on a bye this coming week up, so that just gives Winston, a good full 2 weeks to prepare. And who are they playing when they come back? The Falcons. And we're talking about defenses that suck. The Falcons' defense sucks. So this game could be a shootout here. I definitely love Brait. If he's there and you need a tight end, I would for sure 100% go get him. I know we're in a league and we're struggling for a tight end. It seems like every tight end we pick up gets hurt.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to go get Brait.
So what we're saying is grab Bait, but drop him in week 7 because he's going to get hurt.
Hayden Hurst is a tight end that's going to start this week, right?
Yeah, I like Hayden Hurst. I think the potential's there for him. We'll touch on that one.
Right.
So yeah, tight end landscape. It's really thin. It's hard to predict every week with these guys. But like I said, Brait's Winston's boy. Definitely go pick him up if he's there. If you need a tight end.
All right. So Dolphins and Patriots. Fucking Tom Brady was fucking Tom Brady.
That's why he's fucking Tom Brady, bro. He's the fucking GOAT. And he was like, you think Miami, you're the fucking GOAT? No, I'm the fucking GOAT. You're just a fucking fish in the ocean and you fucking swim and fucking Tom Brady.
Surely though.
So Sony Michel, we talked about how we liked him going forward, and so I mentioned how I was trying to trade for him in every league before he played the Dolphins and just dismantled us. But 25 carries on the ground, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. I mentioned that Dion Lewis when Burkhead was out was basically a top 12 play every week, and it looks like Sony, he could be a top 12, even 10, maybe even top 8 running back going forward.
Whoa. Dude, that's bold. Top 8?
I could see top 8
finishing
potential.
The season top 8.
The potential's there. I mean, New England's going to be in every game.
I see the potential's there, but it's just,
I mean, one thing with the Patriots is like we've noticed is when they get close to the goal line, like they run the ball. They're not doing these stupid pitch plays, but like motion, reverse. Like no, they're like we're close, we're running the ball.
It is true. It is true. These running backs. What did Dion Lewis finish last year?
He was like top 11. He's like top 12 at least. He was an RB1.
And they go only half a season basically.
Blunt, the year before, who was also on the Patriots, he finished
top 5.
I think he was
15 touchdowns, right?
5,
yeah, because he had. I think he had as many. Yeah, I think he had 16 touchdowns. I think
he had
as many touchdowns as games he played.
Yeah,
which is crazy. But so maybe that's not that bold, I suppose.
You got to think. Josh Gordon is getting more acclimated with the system. He's learning the verbiage of the plays. You're getting Edelman back this week. Gronk is there. Hogan, I don't even know, but he's still there. You got to pay attention to him.
I think once Julian Edelman comes back, Chris Hogan's gonna move from that slot position. He's probably gonna move back, and so I don't know. I feel like Chris Hogan could.
We'll see, because Dorsett's been playing better than Hogan. So I'm kind of curious if you're going to have Gordon out there and then Edelman, who plays that second receiver spot? Is it Hogan or is it Dorsett? Right. I mean, Dorsett was a former first-round pick.
And even Patterson gets some looks. So, let's talk about Hogan real quick. Do you guys think he's droppable at this point?
I mean, he could be. I mean, I can't imagine.
I mean, who would you drop him for? That I feel like that's the question. Is like,
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Like, if there's someone there, like, okay.
I'd rather have Geronimo Allison going forward than Chris Hogan.
Right.
I'd rather have, if John Brown's still there, if some leagues he is.
Sterling Shepard's available.
Sterling Shepard
leagues.
I'd rather have than Chris Hogan. Even Antonio Callaway I'd rather have than Chris Hogan at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are just some of the waiver wire
That's a good
guys.
point. Yeah, so, like, I think in that regard, I would drop Chris Hogan.
Hogan had one target.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
just
good
not
on that.
getting it done.
I
That's
think he
not
might be at like 12 targets in the year in 4
that's just
games.
not enough.
That target volume is not. Edelman coming back, Gordon getting acclimated. Maybe they did find a little bit of a run game right here with Sony, Michelle, and White. And, like I mentioned, the Patriots, when they're in a positive game script and they know the team can't stop them run, they will run the ball down your throat. So when they have games where they're playing the Bills, Sony Michelle is going to I could guarantee right now that both times they play the Bills, Sony Michelle get 20-plus carries.
Yeah,
I'll take 5 shots in a row if he doesn't.
Yeah, no, I definitely like Sony Michelle going
Take 5
forward.
shots in a row if
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Yeah, that's how I'm confident with that.
Yeah.
You gotta. That's
You can save
that's
that.
real, dude.
Let's talk about James White real quick though, because James White sneaky has been 14, like 15 plus points every single week.
He's
maybe
sneaky.
this week is the people noticed it finally because he put up like a 30 burger, but I mean he's up there. I mean I think he finishes in the top 20 overall.
He's like a Kamara where he's a receiver and he's not a Kamara level talent, but he's like a wide receiver 2-3 and like a running back like 2-3 at the same time. So when you have James White, you basically get 2 players in a sense. He's gonna get 5 to 10 carries. He's gonna get 5 to 10 targets. You just get 2 outputs with him, and it adds up to being decent at least.
His touchdown was a pass like over a couple of people.
He ran a touchdown and he caught a touchdown.
Right.
Yeah, and he led the team in targets. He had 10 total targets. So I mean, he's just a savvy veteran. Like they trust him out there. So he's not going away anywhere. I think Michelle and White are every week the set and forget it guys.
What do you think about this? Sorry. Yeah, I think James White's like that. I was going to change the subject to Gronk really quick.
All right, yeah, we can talk about Gronk.
Yeah, so you don't think the injury's he's fine? I think that you're right. They just pulled him at the end of the game with the ankle injury.
Yeah, it looked like they were smacking the Dolphins. He tweaked his ankle. They didn't need him out there. They were blowing us out. They're going to win the game anyways. And they're on a short week. They're playing on Thursday night. So they probably just said, Gronk, take it easy. He'll be all right, I don't think. Just monitor his practice status throughout the week. He's probably going to be limited the whole week until the game. But, I mean, it's Gronk. Like you said, he's like a RoboCop out there. He's got a million braces on every limb. And, I think with Josh Gordon getting better, and I think with Edelman coming back.
I called him Bionicle Man.
Bionicle Man, yeah. But I think with these players coming back, it just opens the field up for Gronk because now you can't double them because they do have so many weapons. Like it's going to be hard to defend them, So
yeah, he's
I wouldn't
someone
worry about Gronk. He'd be someone I'd be trying to trade for.
Exactly, I was about to say. All right, let's move over to the.
Yeah, because his past a couple weeks have only been I think they're under 10 points in some leagues.
Yeah, that first week he had, I think that first week I saw a stat, that first week he had 125 receiving yards that first week, and he doesn't even have 125 receiving yards in these next 3 games, or the last 3 games he played. So
yeah, combined.
He'd buy low on
Sounds
Gronk.
about right.
Sounds good. Let's move on.
All right, to Miami side. Whole bunch of all right, next team. Our offense, we're Dolphins fans, so we watch every snap in that game, and the line just whether it's the Dolphins or other teams, you sometimes can't overlook the losses on the offensive line for some teams. And what it looks like is we lost our right guard, we lost our center, and it's just shown dividends. The first few weeks there was holes for Drake and Gore, openings where we were oh, there's some holes. We haven't seen holes like this in Miami for 7 years. We lost Sit-in, our center's down. The other guys aren't playing as good with maybe it's line chemistry, but I'm a little worried about that offense as a whole going forward. I don't want to overreact on 1 week, but the line looks pretty bad. Kendrick Drake or Gore, whoever's running the ball, might have some tough.
You guys just lost your center too, right?
Yeah, might have some tough lanes opening up. So right now, I think the running backs in Miami are they're bench players right now. I don't know if you can feel comfortable starting them.
Yeah, I think the only player I would feel comfortable starting, and this is even just as a flex or my second flex, would be Stills, just because he has that deep ball potential. It takes one home run hit for him to put up some points for you. But yeah, I have Drake in the league, and I'm super nervous. I don't feel comfortable starting him at all. I saw that we've only ran 1 play inside the 5 all year. I think you said that we're at the bottom, if not the very last team in most total plays run.
Yeah, we're bottom 5 of snap or plays run, which is not good. You you want to be running a lot of plays if you have fantasy players. To me, plays equals opportunity equals scores, and when you're bottom 5, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, if I had Drake, he'd be on my bench. I need to see him. If you could try to trade him, I try to trade him. But it's like I don't even know what you're going to get for him. Like you're probably not going to get what you want from him because you spent a 3rd, 4th round pick on him. He's just, I don't know. That offense looks bad. I mean, we lost, like you said, we lost Sutton. He was a top 5 guard. We just lost our center. This line looks bad, and if you can't block for him, how's he going to run the ball?
Yeah, we had a good line skating on thin ice, and the second we had injuries, that line it got decimated.
Yeah.
We didn't have depth. Some teams have depth, but we didn't have any. So I think the Dolphins are going to be in a little bit of trouble going forward. But it's 1 week, so let's see what happens going forward. Maybe they make some adjustments. Maybe they start to get the ball quicker out of Tannehill's hand because the line's bad. Maybe they start running some screens to Drake. Maybe they start running some more I formation. Let's get up the middle, stuff like that. So let's see. But as of right now, Drake's a bench guy, and like I said, receivers still's the only one. So
for sure,
we can move on here.
All right, next matchup.
Next, let's do sorry, my computer is lagging. To week 3.
Jesus.
Well, Mike's over here, supposed to be the host, but I'm in charge right now.
Yeah, bro. I thought that's why you're the scientist, bro, on your
Yeah.
computer over there.
All right.
I'm not in the lab. Lions and Cowboys.
Oh, wait.
Next matchup. Zeke, his Zeke goal is no one. Yeah, because he was just a savage this last week.
But what did we say when we broke down the Cowboys? We're like, all right, we'll break down the Cowboys this week. Zeke. All right, we're done. And that's pretty much what it was. This is Zeke, and that's it.
I think we can do the same thing with the breakdown.
Alan Hearns, I feel like got targeted. No,
He was 3 for 30.
He's just spreading the ball around like that. Like everyone had fought like 5 targets. Alan Hearns 5 targets. The tight end 5 targets. Gallup 5 targets. Beasley 5 targets. Ezekiel 4 targets. Like he's not targeting one receiver. So like it doesn't. There's no value there for like a true receiver because he's just constantly spreading the ball. And then he's
not going to throw for a lot of yardage
Yeah.
himself. So it's like, if he was throwing for 350, 400 yards a game here and there, it'd be different. But when he's throwing for 200, 250, like Tyler said, they're spreading it out. So, you're praying for one of those guys to get into the end zone if you start him. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah, the years that Dak's been in the league, I think they ranked like 30th and 31st in passing yards. So in this year, they're right there. They're like 30th again in passing yards. So they're not a passing team, they're a running team. And that's why Zeke gets the ball 25, 30 times a game. And I think every week it's just Zeke, and that's it. Like that's just it.
Yeah, and this is Dak's someone you're not even really looking at, even a streamer right now.
Yeah.
It's the Zeke show. So let's move over to the Lions side. Matthew Stafford, 307, 2 touchdowns. It's a good game. In today's NFL, it's, I guess, an okay game. Because the way quarterbacks are throwing right now, it's insane. You hear 307 and 2, you're like, oh, that's probably a top 10 play. He's probably a bottom 15 play, as weird as that sounds. Kerryon Johnson, nice to see him have another good game. 9 for 55 on the ground, 6 yards of carry and a touchdown. Look, Garrett Blount had 7 for 12. Theo Riddick 1 for 7. It seems like slowly more and more he's starting to get a little bit more of that backfield pie. I don't know, Tyler, what do you have? Anything on that running game?
He's
What do you think
definitely
about
the
that?
best running back they have. I think it's only a matter of time until Blunt just kind of fades away. Maybe they bring Blunt in for like some goal line carries here and there. But I think it's the Kerryon Johnson show going forward. I mean, the Riddick obviously is going to be involved in the passing game a lot too. But, I mean, you got to give him the ball. I mean, especially you can't just go out there and throw the ball every single play,
Unless you're the Bucks.
Unless you're the Bucks. But, I mean, I like him going forward. I think he's starting to jump on people's radar. So, I mean, if you could try to get him, I'd try to trade for him if you can, but it might be hard because people might start to realize like the potential's there for him.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's a back where like kind of similar to Aaron Jones or Sony Michel. I own Kerryon Johnson in just about every league where it's like you kind of waited for a few weeks with these guys and now you're starting to see the payout. I think it's going to be hard to grab him, but if you can, go because these are, these 3 running backs, Jones, Kerryon, and Michel, they could be 3 second half heroes where we're going into next year looking at these guys as like, 1 or 2 or 3, or none possibly, but they could be second half just, heroes for your running back position.
Yeah. So when we were doing the breakdown for the receivers, I think we all agreed it was Tate, Galladay, and then Marvin Jones. And that's kind of how it fell out. It was Tate, Galladay, and then Marvin Jones.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we've learned is you can start all 3 of these every week.
Yeah.
Pretty much in that order. PPR, Tate's going to see a heavy volume. I mean, he's on pace for, I think it's like 170 targets. The NFL is they're throwing the ball so much more. The receivers are seeing so much more yardage. The quarterbacks are more yardage. You can start all three of these guys. And I think I'd rank them the same way going forward. Tate, PPR, Galladay, and Jones.
Yeah, I think with Tate, when we were doing the draft process, his floor was 90 catches and 1,000 yards. Like pretty much that's his floor. His touchdowns were the thing that he was lacking, but he already has like 4 touchdowns, I think. Which is normally what he gets in a full season.
Normally gets in a full year, so you kind of weren't even like, you're kind of just banking on, Golden Tate's going to get me maybe 5 touchdowns, but every week I'll get 10 to 15 PPR points. He has 3 in the first 4 games. So
yeah, we were talking about if he could reach into that double digits of touchdowns, I mean, he's wide receiver 1 territory.
Yeah, I mean, he's on pace for over 100 catches right now and, roughly 1,200 yards. So, I mean, he's off to a hot start.
Yeah. Galladay, only 4 targets, but 4 receptions, 74 yards, so.
That's pretty good for 4 receptions.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Anything, Mike, on these guys?
Yeah, I think that because I have Golden Tate in the league, and I've noticed I feel like Golden Tate's someone you can trade for because he's, like you guys said, he's kind of sliding under people's radar. Yeah, I think you can really get him at a good price, even though he just blew up. Like I'm trying to because I have too many receivers in a league, and I'm trying to package trade him with somebody else for like a Hopkins or Odell, and still people won't do it. So my thinking is that you could possibly trade for Golden Tate with not very much value and still get him.
Yeah,
people just are not seeing him as that guy. He doesn't have like that name value that some of these other bigger guys have.
No, for sure.
Dude, I'm getting a boner just listening to your insight. That might be the smartest thing you've ever said.
Dude, I try sometimes.
But yeah, actually really like what Mike just said. It's valid points there. But it's not liquid, it's not gas.
It's like this. I'm like, I just blacked out. What did I just say?
What just happened?
Here we thought that you were over there just not even paying attention, and you just some solid points.
He was waiting all 20 minutes for that moment. He's like, "Watch this shit. Watch this shit."
His one note. He was like, "It's me. I'm on. All right."
Bro, I just have gold. It just says Golden Tate in fucking big letters. That's all it said. God damn it.
All right, I got distracted.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move over to the Bengals and the Falcons. We'll start with the Bengals. Andy Dalton, 337 and 3 touchdowns in this game. We mentioned him as we liked him as a play this week. So if you're able to get Dalton, you were rewarded with a nice game. Giovanni Bernard, a big game for him. 15 for 69 on the ground with 2 touchdowns and added 4 for 27 on the ground. As long as Mixon's out, Gio's someone you're starting every week. He's a top 15 play without Gio or not without Mixon in. Let's discuss. How do you feel with the situation if Mixon comes back this week?
Well, I was talking about it earlier. I traded in it. This is week 1 or before the season. I traded and I got Gio, and it was kind of just like the guy threw him to me because it was like, whatever, I'll just throw you Gio too. And I was like, okay, whatever. But after those 2 weeks, I saw Mixon was getting like 75% of the snaps. So I was like, oh man, like Gio's, his value is only tied if Mixon gets hurt. I dropped him, and then Mixon gets fucking hurt. And then these last 2 weeks, he's been balling out. So I'm kind of curious, like if when Mixon comes back, do they just kind of hand him the reins again, like 70+% the snaps, or do they kind of mix Gio in there? Because Gio's good, and when he's given the opportunity, he's always produced consistently. I think I saw a stat where it's like every time he's in, and they give him like 15 plus touches, he gives you like 15 plus fantasy points. So,
yeah, it's kind of like. Gio is a good one. If I was a Bengals fan, Gio would probably be one of my favorite like players. I love Gio. He always does good.
Yeah.
But then you have Mixon, who was looking solid before the injury. It's like they have 2 good backs where they can maybe, it's like you think logical coaching. You think, okay, let's keep Joe Mixon healthy. He's the future of our franchise. He had a knee surgery. We have Gio for 1 more year. We don't need to run Joe Mixon into the ground and kill him. So let's kind of give him a timeshare. But,
yeah, they should run that like Alvin Kamara, Mark
Ingram style, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely should do.
And
that.
I think that would be ideal for them and good for both backs. If you had Joe Mixon, it would hurt his value a little bit, but I think he'll be the goal line back there because he's the bigger back of the 2, so he'll have that. But it's you could have weekly flex value out of Gio if they go that way, but like I said, it's anyone's guess right now. Marvin Lewis is an old school coach, so it's he could be stubborn and just say nope, it's Mixon's show, he's back, and that's it. So. It's kind of a tough one.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, just kind of off topic, how some of these teams don't try to get Gio. Like, I mean, look at the Bucks, for example. They have no running back. Like, why don't they try to go get Gio? I mean, they throw him in that offense. It'd be pretty productive, I think, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens right there. For the receiver-wise, A.J. Green, good game, 4 for 78 and a touchdown. He actually had another touchdown called back on some stupid-ass play. I was watching it. Like, they said the illegal hands to the face.
Bro,
and
they got fucked on that play.
Yeah, and the guy barely tapped the guy in the face. Like, he didn't grab his face mask. The face mask didn't come off. His helmet didn't come off.
That's what I messaged CJ in that group chat. I was like, damn, bro, that's messed up.
Yeah, so he could have had 2 touchdowns, actually. Would have had a big game. I think he actually came back and still scored, maybe on that same drive. So, Tyler Boyd is the thing. We thought maybe John Ross would be the guy who would step up.
Catch a touchdown, didn't he?
He did, but it was kind of like a long bomb. That's kind of what he does. He's more of like a Deshaun Jackson kind of guy, like Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson.
But Tyler Boyd, 11 receptions, 15 targets.
Tyler Boyd is Tyler's boy.
Damn.
Tyler Boyd, yeah, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, the NFL's changing. Like, it's something I've really noticed, and it's like I've mentioned 100 times now. You can start 2 wide receivers on the same team now. They're gonna see hefty targets, hefty volumes, and Tyler Boyd is like it's like a Julio to Calvin Ridley.
Diggs and Thielen.
You know, Tyler Boyd is. I believe he's gonna be a thing all year. He's seeing targets, and it only makes. If you have Andy Dalton or your streamer picking him up, when you have 2 good options, it only makes him that much better of a quarterback. You know, we should mention Tyler Eifert. Sucks for that guy. I mean, his ankle went. I don't even know. It just exploded.
He's good. It's just that he's got the talent.
Dude,
there's no doubt about it. But he just cannot stay healthy.
Bro,
I don't know.
Did you see his leg?
I did not.
Bro, his leg fucking broken.
You didn't know his leg broken in half?
No, I didn't see it. I know he broke his ankle, but I didn't see it.
This was his leg, bro. And then this after the play, fucking this dude. But no, for real though, it was so gnarly.
We just both stared at Michael.
So I'm just trying to visualize like his ankle,
like this too. Like,
dog, dude, the guy landed on it, and you could see his fucking leg. Like, remember when that UFC fight and that guy, who was that? Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Fucking kicked in his. That's what his.
I remember that. Yeah, that's what. It was.
Dude, I saw a tweet. They said it's for like basketball wise, but Gordon Hayward, he came down on his ankle and he landed on it, and his ankle he dislocated it, broke it, whatever. So they compared it to that. So if I can only imagine, it was pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
I mean, but he's good. He can't stay healthy. I mean, we even called it, and we were talking about it. Would we start Tyler Eifert in this matchup? And we said, yeah, the Falcons aren't good. He's a red zone threat. I mean, got a touchdown there. I'm just wondering, does this open up the door for like Tyler Croft?
It could. Tyler Croft was
Tomb Raider.
The Tomb Raider was the thing. He was raiding tombs last year.
Yeah,
for sure. When Eifert was down.
Yeah, I think Croft's a good pickup.
Yeah, if you're thin at tight end, if you get lost OJ Howard, you had Evan Ingram, which they had both those guys, and you're like, crap, I need a tight end. This offense looks good. They play Miami next week. Maybe grab Tyler Croft and see what happens. He was pretty useful last year when there was no Tyler Eifert there.
I just know that the other tight end, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, CJ Hujmanzada, or whatever. I know they use him a lot too, so I'm wondering if maybe they use both of them at the same time. But I mean, yeah, for sure. Last year, Tyler Croft was a serviceable tight end, for people who were kind of like scrounging for one. So
yeah, I'll look up some numbers, but we can move on to the Falcons side in the meantime.
It just shows you again, like we're talking about. Like I'm starting everyone who plays against the Falcons defense. Their defense is just terrible. I'm starting everyone who's playing against the Falcons defense. But on the flip side, that brings us, like you said, the Falcons. I'm starting Matt Ryan every week now.
Yeah. I think you're starting Matt Ryan. You almost want to find the quarterback that's playing against Matt Ryan because this offense it's found its groove. It's found its wheels. It still baffles everyone how Julio Jones can put up on pace for 2,000 yards but not score touchdowns. Maybe that connection is with Calvin Ridley. He has 6 touchdowns already in the first 4 games. But maybe now he doesn't have to sit there and stare down Julio, and the defenses are like, okay, we need to give Calvin Ridley some respect. So, maybe it just I think it just helps Matt Ryan having Calvin Ridley there for his touchdown upside because last year he was a good quarterback. It wasn't a drop off in production; it was a drop off in the red zone. But they seem to have found their groove in the red zone with Ridley and some of these other players and Sanu. And it's almost like you got to pick your poison at this point. And he's like, "You're going to pick Julio. I'm going to throw it to Ridley or Sanu."
Sanu's been putting up pretty good points too.
Yeah. I think what Matt Ryan is, he had a bad year last year, but it was I saw like an article of something about like the years he's had good years, like he throws for a lot of touchdowns, and the years that he has bad years, he doesn't throw for a lot of touchdowns, but he's throwing for consistently a lot of yards every single year. I mean, he was graded out as the number 2 overall quarterback in Pro Football Focus, only behind the fucking GOAT Tom Brady. But I mean, people might have forgot he was the MVP of the league 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't write off a guy like that. I mean, like they go out and they draft a weapon like Ridley. Obviously, he's a stud. I mean, that's only going to make him better. That's only going to open the field up more for him. So I mean, he's a quarterback who was going in the 11th round, 10th round, somewhere in the back end. So that's
someone we loved in the off. We talked about it. We loved Matt Ryan.
I think he's a week every week. I mean, unless maybe he's playing against the Jaguars, but even then, it's like this defense is so bad. They're just gonna have to be consistently throwing the ball 30, 35 times a game to keep up with these games. I mean, they're going to have to score 30 plus points every single week if they want to win a game because their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, 419 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks,
Yeah.
That's a solid game right there.
I mean, Julio Jones, 9 for 173. Sanu, 6 for 111. Calvin Ridley, 454 and 2 touchdowns.
Julio Jones get in the fucking end zone? God damn it, dude. It's so frustrating.
He's going to have one game where he just has like 5 touchdowns and doesn't score again. That's it.
Dude. Yeah, it'll be like that. Yeah, God.
They're like, he's on the radar. 5
frustrating
touchdowns.
thing ever. Yeah. This is, okay, I'm not mad. Like, he's still putting up points. But it's like, it's so frustrating that everyone else on the team is getting touchdowns and he still doesn't have one.
It shows you how good he is and like how much better he could be if he could just catch some touchdowns. It just blows my mind.
I mean, maybe the other guy scoring though does help him out a little bit. Maybe it even takes some like personal pressure off from him, where it's like maybe it's a thing where it's like him and Matt Ryan are just like, oh shit, we have to score touchdowns together. We can't do it. And it's like, all right, maybe now that they're scoring with Sanu and Ridley and the other guys, maybe now that they just start connecting, maybe there's not so much double teams on Julio, and it's a little bit of a pressure off because like you think from it's like you're trying to force something like nonstop and it's not working. You're like, oh, why can't it happen? And maybe they're not trying to force it anymore. And since they're not forcing it, maybe the connection happens more than it has in the past.
Yeah,
just a narrative that's possible.
Let's talk about the running backs. Devontae Freeman's supposed to come back. It's reported that he's supposed to come back week 5 against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I think you got to look at.
I mean, Coleman's been playing really good in his absence.
I still like Devontae
but it's been like
Freeman,
RB2 numbers, like good. But they've been solid. But now that Freeman's there, it's like.
I still like Devontae. I would trade for Devontae Freeman right now.
I mean, if you could, they definitely paid him, so I can't imagine them not using him when he comes back. I mean, he's a good running back. He's a hard between the tackles running back. He can catch the ball. I mean, he was RB1 like 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he's a guy that people forgot about him, maybe they're like, oh, I'm tired of this guy. He's not putting up any points. Maybe if you can try to trade for him. I mean, yeah, I think he's definitely a player you could try to target.
What I would love to see from Devontae Freeman once he's back is. This defense is bad, so it's not going to lean towards the Falcons, being able to, because Tevin Coleman's not going anywhere. It's not going to lean towards them running the ball 30 times a game, unless they're playing some weaker opponents in some weeks, and maybe. But if it's a game where you see a shootout, where maybe they're playing the Saints or even the Panthers, these games are probably going to be shootouts where. If he can catch some passes, I think he'll be okay as an RB2. But if he's not getting targets in the passing game, I think there's going to be weeks where you're going to be very disappointed in Devontae Freeman, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next matchup.
And
I did try to turn my phone off, but it just, I don't know. It says it's on mute.
Let me just turn it off.
But I'm trying to look at some stats here, bro. That's why,
Like Samsung
Turbo
just came
McNo
out with
computer.
a phone.
I know. I need my phone over here.
Yeah, Samsung just came out with a phone. iPhone just came out with a phone. Dude, get yourself a not broken.
I'm just going to get a nice little tablet. If maybe Apple wants to sponsor us with some tablets or something.
We
maybe
do get like
new
15 views a week. It's pretty good.
All right, let's move to the next matchup.
Some pretty good exposure. We'll blow Apple up, dude.
Dude, yeah.
That'll be like a Fortune 500 company after we're done with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wait, it already is. Okay.
All right. Sam Darnold. Yeah, I don't think we really touch the Sam Darnold too much. Rookie's still growing. He's not someone you're really playing.
I'm curious if you can look it up kind of on the spot. What was the snap percentage between him and Crowell in this game?
I will pull it up real quick. And as I'm pulling that out, Bilal Powell, 8 for 26. His name either gets tongue twisted or like just like fires out your mouth. It's like one of the two. 8 for 26. Isaiah Crowell didn't run so well. 4 for 0. I think in this offense as of right now, it's if you're in a running back pinch like we talked about in the matchups, Crowell's the goal line back, so he's someone you can throw in there. But Powell seems to get a little bit more targets, but neither of them's getting a heavy volume. The only guy I really feel comfortable with is Quincy Enunwa.
Yeah, Quincy Enunwa, I think he's got like a 30% target share. He's still available in a ton of leagues. So if he's there on the waiver wire, we'll touch on that later too. Go grab him. But yeah, Enunwa 4 for 66, 8 targets. So he led the team in targets. Crowell, it's a bad game on the road against the Jaguars. Bad game script. I think there's better days ahead for Crowell, especially in games where they're more competitive. Some
people might drop him. He got dropped in the league.
Yeah,
I've seen him dropped in a few leagues.
Yeah,
running backs are thin too, so it's like, he's someone you could pick up to where I think when you have elite options at wide receiver, keep them. But if you're holding some guys where they're just middle of the road receivers, week in and week out, you're gonna have a receiver that's middle of the road off the waiver wire. You can pick up and play. You kind of want to look at your waiver wire as like a part of your extended bench in a sense, because it is anyone able to use those players as a bench. If you're just holding an average receiver. And you have some bye weeks. Crowell's a guy you can maybe pick up, and if you need a receiver for a week, you can mix and match. I use the waiver wire sometimes to pick up a receiver and just throw him in there.
Yeah.
And then they did play Jacksonville, and it's nice to see when they even played Jacksonville. Like Quincy Enunwa had a bit like still a 6 for 40. It's still a usable game.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're not gonna play Jacksonville every week, so he's gonna have some better games going forward.
That's obviously Darnold's safety blanket. They always talk about rookie quarterbacks coming in. They always look for like a safety blanket receiver, that the guy they trust, to throw to. And Enunwa has emerged as that guy for Darnold. So I think he's a guy you can throw in every week as your flex for sure.
Yeah, Powell and Crowell, Jesus, names together. Like, I don't know why they can't get them. 64% for Powell and 36% for Crowell.
Yeah. Bad game script for Crowell.
Yeah, negative game script. So, maybe if it's a negative game script, you lean more towards Powell in those type of games.
For sure.
On the Jacksonville side, Blake Bortles, after he couldn't put up anything against the Titans, comes out and has 388 and wait, I just lost the
388 and 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
One pick.
One pick. Leonard Fournette, if you have him right now, you can go and explain your feelings because you have him in a few leagues.
Yeah, I got him in a few leagues. I was super big on Fournette. Because he's just a big bruising back. This line was the second best line with yards before contact, and then they went out and they signed the best guard in the NFL. So I'm thinking like, man, this line's, it was already the second best in the league. Now it got the best guard in the league. Man, this line's gonna be super good. He just can't stay healthy. It's a hamstring injury, and like those soft tissue injuries, it's like you can feel like you're good, you feel like everything's okay, but then you try to make a cut, you try to hit full speed, and it tightens up on you again instantly. And now they're saying he's out indefinitely. They don't even know how long he's gonna be out. Luckily for me, in every league that I have him in, I've drafted TJ Yeldon, so I can at least throw Yeldon in there to replace him in the meantime. Yeldon had a good game. Touchdown on the ground, 50 yards, and then he had a 30-yard touchdown through the air too. So, at least if you have Yeldon,
what are you laughing at?
If you have Yeldon, you can throw him in there. I was telling people, if you had Fournette, that would probably be someone that you for sure should have gone.
What could you be laughing at right now, Anthony?
Because Tyler was just talking, and then he was getting yelled. He was like, and yelling. I entertain myself a lot.
Yeah. But Fournette, he's out indefinitely. They don't know when he's coming back.
Dude, you remember? Wait, really quick. We were watching on Sunday. Remember when they were doing the recap of all the touchdowns from Red Zone? And then it got that guy
who scored?
It was AJ Green. AJ Green! Yeah! That was
it was the most hyped, and it was like, because it was like the home channel, and it was like AJ Green touchdown. Yes! And he started crying, like laughing.
He was just so hyped, screaming. Yeah! It's like, dude,
his voice was like cracking and everything.
I don't know, maybe he had to be there. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, TJ Yeldon. He's actually available on a ton of waiver wires, so he'd probably be my number one priority this week if he's out there.
Yeah.
Go grab him and hold on to him. Maybe some people dropped him because they thought, oh, Fournette's back, I don't need him, blah, blah, blah. But he's the guy. He catches the ball, he runs the ball, goal line back. You need to have him. For sure.
For as young as Fournette is, he looks like he's like 50, dude.
Yeah. I just don't know, man.
He looks like
who knows when he's coming back. It could be like 3 or 4 weeks until he comes back.
He's injured like an old person. He looks old.
Those LSU running backs just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fournette, though, here's something I was thinking about. Like, teams who have Fournette have been let down. So there's a chance those teams are 0-4 or 1-3. See if you can maybe if you're a 4-0 team and your team is just loaded and you already have 2-3 good running backs, you don't need like help. Maybe see what you can get to offer someone to get Fournette, and even though he's out 3-4 weeks, just stash him there.
Yeah.
That's the scenario where I was thinking about today, where it's like there's gonna be some teams who have Fournette or 0-4 or 1-3. They need to sell Fournette at this point for whatever they can get, because if they start 0-5, 0-6, they're out. So maybe see if you're a 4-0 team, if you can go buy Fournette and just hold him for 3-4 weeks until he comes back fully healthy.
Yeah. All right, jumping over to the receivers. When we were breaking down this matchup, we were talking about how Keelan Cole, those outside receivers, Jets give up the fourth fewest points to the outside receivers. Keelan Cole, only 2 catches for 15 yards. On the flip side, we were talking about D.D. Westbrook lining up in the slot. Jets gave up the second most points to slot receivers. D.D. Westbrook, 9 catches on 13 targets, 130 yards. So he kind of blew up. So that trend kind of showed maybe starting slot receivers from here on out against the Jets.
Nice start.
It was one of our sleepers too, Westbrook.
And then Moncrief also had a big game. I think Moncrief's one of those guys where he's going to be hard to predict. He's going to have ups and downs. He's going to be maybe big game here, maybe not big game here. This passing game as a whole might be hard to predict. Keelan Cole, 2 for 15. He was pretty steady before this week, so it could have been the matchup like we talked about. The Jacksonville passing game, I think it could be a little bit of a carousel, and then it's tied to Blake Bortles, where some weeks he goes out there and throws for 300-400, some weeks he goes out there and throws for 200. So I think predicting this receiving core is going to be hard week in and week out.
Yeah.
And then we touched on the Jets.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So the next matchup. Why does my computer keep going back to week 3? Mike, you need to do this next week. I'm fired.
All right.
Eagles and Titans.
I pulled it up.
So
mine's in a different order than what you've been going through.
So on the Eagles side, Carson Wentz, nice to see him back. 50 attempts, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good game from Carson Wentz. Normal years, that's like a top 5 performance. This year, I think it was barely cracked the top 10. Jay 15 for 70. It's nice to see him with the spinal injury out there still making carries. And
I thought you were saying it's nice to see him with the spinal injury. I'm like, that's fucked up, dude.
But it's nice to see him get 15 for 70 on the ground.
Yeah, 4.7 yards per carry. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and he had 3 catches for 11. So in a PPR game, it's still a decent game right there. Didn't get into the end zone, but I think he's gonna be the goal line back. With that back, how do you feel about him going forward? Because he's one player where I'm like, I like him when he's on the field, but is he going to stay on the field?
Yeah, for him, it's just the opportunity. He's got, what did he get, 16, 17 touches this game?
Yeah, 18.
18 touches. He just has to get the ball. He's a guy where when you play for Miami, we're Miami fans, so when you play for Miami, we saw how as the game went throughout the game, he got better as he went. You know what I'm saying? So you can't give him 8 carries and 10 carries and expect him to do what he does. So it was nice to see him get 15 carries, with the spinal injury. It's just crazy, but they threw the ball 50 times. They only ran it 22. So, obviously they're a passing team. So that kind of worries me. But, obviously Ajayi, he's the goal line back. He's on a high-powered offense. They do throw the ball a ton, so you can't stack the box on him. They have a good line. If he could just stay healthy and then give him the ball 15 to 20 times a game, I'd like Ajayi for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think he's someone where if I have a lot of receivers, I'd maybe try and Quincy and Noon were for Jay Ajayi. I'd see if I can get that done.
Yeah,
he's going to be a nice wide receiver to plug and play. But if you're deep at wide receivers, see if you can get that done, because this is going to be a high scoring offense for sure. We know that. If he's getting 15 carries a game and a few passes, and maybe with the red zone upside, I think. He's someone who could have, just a solid, week in, week out kind of type of, maybe not super high ceiling, but maybe not super low floor. There's the running backs is pretty thin. So if you have a guaranteed starter with guaranteed goal line work with a top 5 offense, I don't mind having that player in my team.
Yeah. So the receiving wise, Ertz, that's just Wentz's boy, huh?
Yeah, he's out here.
I guess Ertz is just Foles' boy too. He's just out here. He's just obviously just a matchup nightmare for the linebackers. The safeties, they just can't cover him. 10 receptions, 112 yards on 14 targets. So.
And the good thing about Ertz is his girlfriend's or his wife's really hot.
Yeah, she's hot.
Yeah. Sorry, that's
the good thing about him.
that's my.
Or is
that's
it the good thing
about
for him?
Yeah. Right.
Well, because he's just slamming that hot ass, and then he comes out and he just gets these
amped.
numbers, dog.
He's just.
Did you see how I
slamming
looked last
that.
night? Watch what I do on the field.
She's like, babe, if you go out there and ball out, I'll suck the shit out that dick. And he's just like, what? Bet.
What do I get for a 100-yard game? I'm out here.
So yeah, balled out. Alshon Jeffrey. It was nice to see
He's
Alshon
like,
Jeffrey.
Carson, I need a reception. I
One
need 10
more.
more fucking yards, dude.
So for Alshon Jeffrey, he made his season debut. It was nice to see him come out and him put up a really good game. 8 receptions on 9 targets, 105 yards and a touchdown. So he kind of did what he's known for. They threw him the ball and he kind of just mossed some guy. You know, he's a big guy. He jumps out jumps people, strong hands. So it was real comforting to see him, especially if you had him on your bench, for the first couple weeks. Maybe you were even unsure to throw him out there. I had him in the league. I told myself, if they're gonna play him, I'm playing him because he's their best receiver, and he put up some good numbers for me.
Yeah, the nice thing to see with Alshon Jeffrey too is last year I believe he only had maybe 50 something catches, right?
Yeah.
And he goes out in his first week back and he puts up 8 catches for 100 yards. So that's a nice sign to see going forward. Maybe the reception totals are up this year, and even though he missed the first 3 weeks, maybe he's a little bit more consistent for you when he doesn't score. So that was something I took note of, where I was okay. If you're a Jeffrey owner, you could be happy with seeing him in his first week back at 8 receptions.
Yeah, the Titans' defensive backs are pretty good too. They have Malcolm Butler and they have another
Adorius Jackson. Like
so their corners are pretty good. You would think at least top half of the league. So to see him go out in his first game back and put up those numbers, pretty good right there. He's someone actually. If I could try, it might be hard to trade for him because he just came out and had a good game. But if you can, get Jeffrey somehow. He'd be the player that I'd be trying to target.
Yeah, maybe try and there's a phrase buy high on him where you can buy him, but he's gonna stay hot and stay high. Maybe he needs running backs and they're like, oh, he just had a good game, because some people will try and sell high. So maybe someone's like, oh, he had a good game. He didn't catch the ball 8 times at all last year. I'm gonna go and trade him for whatever I can get right now. So especially in a standard, maybe see if someone's willing to give him away off a good game, and then you look back at the end of the season and he's pretty steady and consistent for you. Nelson Aguilar, starting to get a little worried about him with Wentz back. It's weird. It's like the last year they were connected together and always solid, but the first 2 games so far he hasn't done much with Wentz. And his target average is 4.4 last game. So
yeah, he's kind of disappearing these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's as of right now I don't really feel comfortable starting him. I don't know if I would drop him yet because he was pretty consistent last year. But I think after 2 weeks, you got to kind of let him roll on the bench for a week and see.
He still had 12 targets. So, he's getting. That's a lot of targets.
Yeah.
Second in the team in targets, 12 targets. That's a lot of targets.
Yeah.
It's a high-powered offense. He had those 2 big weeks. Yeah, Alshon Jeffrey wasn't there. But in the future, if they're playing against tougher defenses, maybe they try to take away Ertz and Jeffrey, and that Aguilar eats in the middle in the slot role. So
yeah, I think in a standard though, with his depth of target is extremely low. I wouldn't feel comfortable with him in a standard.
He's more of a PPR guy.
Yeah, I think he's more of a PPR guy. So with the Titans, Marcus Mariota, apparently had no feeling in his elbow or whatever, but it looks like it's back. 344, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Added 10 for 46 on the ground and a touchdown. He was probably with the rushing yards. He was a pretty big play this week. That's almost that's like another 100 yards basically through the air with his rushing yards. If you translate it over.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see Marcus Mariota. If you're someone who wrote him off or you believed in his upside, it's nice to see that game from him. It was a new offense coming into this year. It's a new system, new coach. Maybe we kind of jumped the gun on, writing Marcus Mariota off and maybe even Mitchell Trubisky off. Maybe these quarterbacks are getting adjusted to their new coach and their new system, and going forward could have some big seasons or at least streamable weeks.
Yeah. So for the running backs, we told you Derrick Henry, this would be a player we would not be playing, and he 8 rushes, 24 yards, 2 catches, 7 yards. So he gave you a dud, 0 touchdowns. Dion Lewis. Didn't really run the ball, 4 carries, 0 yards, but where he was active was in the receiving. He had 9 receptions for 66 yards. And we were talking about that when we were breaking down the game. We were like, we don't understand why they're not giving him the ball more in space, the little dump offs here and there, because that's where he, his bread and butter's at. We were talking about how Rashard Matthews is gone. He cut himself. Delaney Walker's out for the year. So Dion Lewis, we're saying maybe he gets more receptions, but a name we brought up was Tywan Taylor. We're talking about keeping an eye on him. His snap percentage. Tywan Taylor. So his snap percentage has gone up all 3 weeks or every week. It's just continue to rise. All 4 weeks, his snap percentage has gone up. He had 7 catches for 77 yards on 9 targets. So that's just a name to keep an eye on. Tywan Taylor. He's going to be available in pretty much every single league, so he's gonna be one of the guys we talk about on the waiver wire too.
And then Corey Davis, we mentioned how he's had a high target share. He's seen 30-something% of the team's target share.
Yeah, after this week, he's the number 1 receiver in target share for his teams, and he's at 33%.
Yeah, and if it's
so 1 out of every 3 passes is going his way.
If it stays like that, I don't think he's someone you can bench at this point.
No.
If Marcus Mariota's looking healthy and stays healthy, I think he's a weekly wide receiver 2. He just showed wide receiver 1 upside in any given week. So I think you have Corey Davis. You kept him and you fought through those first few weeks. Like, you're happy at this point.
Yeah, I mean I think he got drafted as the 5th overall player in the draft. First receiver off the board last year. He battled a lot of injuries last year. I mean, that offense too wasn't very good. But this is a different offense, like you said. Maybe they just needed more time to acclimate themselves to it. This is the scheme of this is supposed to be like a high-powered offensive scheme. Three wide receiver sets. Passes to a running back. Last year is more of like a running style offense. So,
Mike, you got anything? Give us some Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis facts.
Dion Lewis, he good.
He good.
And why did you guys do that to me?
Yeah, I like Corey Davis the rest of the season. Like I said, another player, if I could try to trade for him, potentially I would be trying to trade for him. His value obviously is going to be high coming off a crazy good game, but I mean, if you can get him, I definitely would like him.
We're at an hour and 6 minutes.
All right. On to the next matchup. Browns and Raiders. Baker Mayfield, 295, 2 touchdowns in his first game. I lost my train of thought. Nick Chubb out there giving people Chubbs off 3 carries. How do you feel? Jesus.
Here's the thing with Chubb. I feel like people see, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chubb, do I go get him? What do I do? Do I play him?
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde, 22 rushes, 82 yards, and a touchdown. I think Carlos Hyde actually leads the league in carries, so I wouldn't be worried about Chubb. He had 2 50-yard runs. He had like a 50-yard run and he had like a 60-yard run. It's highly unlikely that he sustains that. So I think he just got lucky to get those runs. It's the Carlos Hyde show here. I mean, 22 carries for him, only 3 for Chubb, 2 for Duke Johnson. So the Carlos Hyde show here. I'd be starting him every single week. Running back 2 with some running back 1 upside there. As far as the receiver go, Landry, he's getting a huge target share. He's getting like 30% target share. He's, like I said, back end wide receiver 1 every single week. What I liked in this game is I liked that Duke Johnson finally got involved in the offense.
Johnson.
It's like he those first 3 weeks.
That was power.
Yeah. Last year he finished as RB12 or something like that, something crazy. And these first 3 weeks he had like 3 points, 4 points, 3 points, and it's like, where's Duke Johnson at? They're not using him. And then this week it was just nice to see them get him involved. He had 4 catches for 45 yards, a couple runs, and then he had like a 2-point conversion. I think he had 2 2-point conversions actually.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to see him get involved.
David Njoku is a tight end where, last week we mentioned that when Baker was in, he targeted him twice and he had 2 catches, 552. If that's more of the norm, Baker looks to be he's going to probably make some mistakes, but he looks to a quarterback where even though he makes mistakes, he's going to make some plays, he's going to take some chances. Njoku's a freak athlete. So if you're getting 552 out of Njoku and with some big play upside, I think he's going to be a good tight end going forward. Someone you can probably week in, week out. Did you touch on Antonio Callaway or no?
No.
In deeper leagues, he's a receiver I wouldn't mind picking up. He missed some big plays. He had some drops. It was kind of a bad game for a rookie. So maybe he gets it together and, you see more consistency from him out there. To the Raiders side, Derek Carr, 437 and 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I kind of mentioned how Carr is like silently thrown for, averaged over 300 yards a game, and he just hasn't put the touchdowns together. He put the touchdowns together this time? 4 touchdowns on 437 yards. Nice game from Carr. Marshawn Lynch, another big game from Lynch. I think Lynch you got to view as almost an RB1 at this point.
He's just been super consistent every week.
Yeah, I mean he's getting carries. He didn't get to the end zone this week, but he still had the yardage. The yardage was there. 3 for 27 through the air. I think I view Lynch as a back end RB1 as of right now, just based off of volume, based off of red zone upside.
I think he's a set it and forget it every week.
Yeah. Amari Cooper 8 for 128, 1 touchdown. If you benched him, sorry. If you played him, you rolled the dice and it paid off.
Hooray!
Amari Cooper, I own him in a lot of leagues and I've been big on him, so I'll try to touch on what I think about the situation, and then Tyler and Mike can weigh in. We did say that he had a tough start to the season. He played the Rams in week 1, Denver in week 2 played a good game. Xavier Howard is actually a good corner. Josh Gordon didn't do much last week, and Xavier Howard was out there. And this was a matchup to where it's like, it's the Browns. So if he's not going to do it against this team, who's he going to do it against? It's nice to see the plus 10 targets again and him go high percentage catch. I believe he had 12 targets, right?
Yeah.
So it's the second game where he's had over 10 targets and he's caught, 10 for 12, a high percentage of the balls. Last year, he wasn't catching a high percentage of the balls. It's a new offense, new coaching scheme. Everything's coming over. So, if these target counts stay the same, Amari Cooper, for all it's been up and down, he might be someone who ends up being consistent over the second half of the year. But we have to wait and see with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing with Cooper has always been, if he gets the targets, he produces. So those games when he disappears and he doesn't put up points, it's not like he's getting like 10 targets and he gets 2 catches, 20 yards. Like, no, he got like 3 targets and 2 catches. That's why he got 2 catches. So if he's going to get, 10 plus targets, he's going to put up points. Like, they just got to find ways to get him the ball. He's obviously their best playmaker, like receiving wise. So just gotta give him the ball. I mean, you give him the ball, you see what he's capable of.
Yeah, and he makes some big plays too after the catch. He's another guy who gets yards after the catch.
Yeah.
So just ways to get him involved. Jared Cook, another huge game, 8 for 110, 2 touchdowns.
The tight end 1 right now.
Yeah,
he's the number 1 tight end over Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz.
I don't think we believed in Jared Cook,
So annoying.
but he's cooking up some points. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's out there. You got to start him at this point.
Yeah, you have to every week.
Martavis Bryant and Jordy Nelson. They're getting targets. So Jordy Nelson, his second game, pretty good game in a row. In 2 wide receiver leagues, I can see Jordy as someone where the Raiders defense isn't good.
Yeah.
So if they're playing another good offense and the team has to score a lot, because Derek Carr's thrown for he's probably averaging 350 yards now a game. Jordy's going to get some work. Not a bad if you're in a double flex, you need a wide receiver type of guy, or bye weeks maybe like a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, he's available on the waiver wire too, because a lot of people dropped him after those first 2 weeks. Maybe they didn't pick him up after that Miami game in week 3. They thought it was a fluke, but he came out. He's still a solid red zone guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Red
for
zone
sure.
guy. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this part of the matchups for now. The second part of the matchups, we're gonna come and touch those with you guys, and then we'll get to the waiver wire section. Mike, you want to do our Twitter handles and blah blah blahs and?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you listen to this, good job. Wow, you did it so great. Wow, I love you. This has been the Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Instagram, @AverageBros_fantasy football. Follow us on Twitter, @AverageBrosFFP. Leave us a review on iTunes. That'd be great. See if we did a good job. Or even just click that 5-star. It really helps us. It pushes us in the little podcast atmosphere on iTunes. So that's greatly appreciated. We also are on YouTube, full video format. So you can check this out. See our dumb faces if you want. Look at me when I accidentally pick my nose on camera or something.
Or when I stare at him and he starts laughing.
Yeah, there you go. You're missing out on all that if you're just audio. But if you're at work and you just want to get this knowledge in, throw those fucking headphones in and play us on the podcast app, iTunes, whatever, all this other stuff. But thanks again. This has been the Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast for now. See you again later.
Deuces.